The ground under my boots was still shaking when I heard it. A small, broken sound, coming from somewhere inside the fallen metal in front of me. My hands were already cut from pulling wires out of the wreck, but I stopped moving the second I heard that sound. It was not the wind. It was not a machine. It was something alive, and it was in pain. My name is Daniel Hale. I work in salvage, which means I go into broken places and pull out anything that still has value. That day, I was standing in the remains of a transport ship called the Silver Line, deep in a quiet zone nobody wanted to visit anymore. The empire above us had been dropping fire on this region for 3 years. Most people my age had learned to walk past sounds like the one I heard. I never learned that lesson properly. I moved closer, careful not to shift the broken beams above me. Between two collapsed walls, curled into a shape too small for what it was, lay a young dragon. Not the giant kind from the old warnings, the kind that could block out the sun with a single wing. This one was small, maybe the size of a large dog, with scales that were still soft, still dull, not yet grown into the hard armor of an adult. One wing was bent in a way wings are not supposed to bend. Her breathing came out in short, uneven bursts. I had every reason to walk away. The empire she belonged to had taken people I loved. I told myself that for exactly 1 second. Then I knelt down anyway. I took off my jacket and slid it under her body as gently as I could. I found a strip of metal casing and used it to hold her wings steady, the same way I would splint an arm. I had no water clean enough to offer except what was left in my canteen, so I gave her that. She did not fight me. She did not have the strength to fight me. Then she opened one eye, an eye almost as wide as my whole hand, and looked straight at me. Her throat moved. A sound came out, rough and small, shaped like a word. It was not my name. I want to be clear about that, because it changes everything that came after. It was a name I did not know, spoken in a way my translator device could not even process. The small screen on my wrist just blinked with symbols that meant nothing, then gave up entirely. After that, she went still. For a long moment I could not find her breath at all. My chest went tight in a way I still remember clearly. Then, faintly, her breathing returned, shallow, but there. I did not know what else to do, so I simply stayed beside her, one hand resting on her side, feeling every small rise and fall. I had no way of knowing that the sound she made had traveled far beyond that wreck. Weeks later, a calm woman from the peace office explained it to me, her hands still slightly unsteady as she spoke. She told me that young dragons share a bond with the one who raised them, a bond that works something like an old distress signal. When a young dragon is badly hurt and far from safety, it does not call out to whoever happens to be near. It reaches, across any distance, toward the one name that means protection to it. It is barely language at all. It is closer to a signal built for a single receiver. The name that Hatchling had spoken did not belong to a stranger. It belonged to the ruler of the entire Dragon Empire, a leader who had not left her homeworld in 400 years, who commanded forces that had reshaped entire regions of space. According to every report I had ever read, she was not someone capable of gentle feeling. And yet, 4 systems away, she felt her granddaughter's name leave that small throat. She felt the silence that followed it. I was told later that her entire court stopped in place. Officers froze mid-sentence. Guards froze mid-step. An empire that stretched across an enormous part of known space went completely silent for the length of one held breath, because the one who ruled it sat frozen in her chair with an expression none of them had ever seen before. Then, for the first time and longer than anyone could remember, she asked a question instead of giving a command. Who is with her? I did not know any of this while it was happening. I only knew that the sky above that wreck went dark with the shapes of ships that had not been there minutes before. I stood slowly, keeping my hands open where anyone could see them, the small dragon held carefully against my chest. I said the only thing that felt worth saying. She is breathing. It is weak, but she is breathing. I did not have much to help her with. The lead ship did not attack. It landed. What stepped out was not what I expected. I expected armed guards moving in formation. Instead, an old figure walked out first, moving like someone who had forgotten fear a long time ago and was relearning it in that exact moment, simply because of what she might discover when she reached me. She did not look at me at first. Her eyes went straight to the small dragon in my arms. Her hands, when they reached out, were shaking, and I remember thinking that 400 years of complete power apparently does not remove that kind of feeling. "She lives," the ruler said quietly. It was not a question. It was something she needed to say aloud to fully believe it. "Barely," I answered. "Her wing is injured. I am not a healer. I work in salvage. I did what I could with what I had." For a long moment, the most powerful figure in the known galaxy simply looked at me, not at the child in my arms, but directly at me. I braced myself for whatever might come next. In my experience, gratitude from powerful people sometimes carries hidden edges, especially from those unused to owing anyone anything. "You could have walked away," she said finally. "I could have," I agreed. It did not feel like something I could live with afterward. Something shifted in her expression, something I still do not have the right words to describe. Then she gently lifted her granddaughter from my arms, holding her with a softness that did not match anything I had read about her in official reports. Quietly, almost too quiet for the ships behind her to hear, she spoke again. "An empire has just learned the name of the human who did not leave a dying child alone in the dark. That is a debt I do not intend to leave unpaid." I did not understand then how large those words would turn out to be. The fighting that had shaped my entire adult life ended 11 months later. It did not end because either side gained the upper hand. It ended because the ruler of the Dragon Empire simply stopped it, and not one advisor among her entire court found the courage to ask her why, out loud. I know why. I was there for the reason. I only held on long enough for someone far stronger than me to arrive and hold on better. In the following months, I received a visit I never expected. The young dragon, now walking steadily on a fully healed wing, arrived with a small group of her own guards, moving with the careful pride of someone who has grown past a memory that once nearly ended her. She did not speak much, not in words my translator could read, but she pressed her head gently against my shoulder for a long moment, and that was enough for me to understand everything she meant. Her grandmother sent a message with her, delivered through a calm translator standing nearby. The message said that peace between our people had begun in a wrecked ship, between two strangers who did not share a language, built on nothing more than one small act of kindness, offered without any expectation of return. I still work in salvage. I still walk into broken places and search for anything worth saving, but now, every so often, a small dragon ship lands near my sight, not to threaten, but simply to check on the man who once knelt beside a frightened, injured child instead of walking past her. People sometimes ask me if I knew what I was doing that day, if I understood the weight of what would follow. I did not. I only knew that something small and hurting needed help, and I happened to be standing close enough to give it. That is the entire story, really. Nobody sets out to end years of conflict using nothing more than a torn jacket and a bent piece of metal casing. You simply do the next right thing directly in front of you, and sometimes, far more of the universe is listening than you could ever imagine.